Natasha has her own show called Sham Ki Chai, where she interviews like prominent Pakistanis doing really cool things, kind of like me and Jazz. And then she talks about all types of cool stuff. And she's all the way in San Francisco. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Well, you did the intro. My name is Natasha. I do run a show called Sham Ki Chai, where I interview Pakistanis doing really cool things over a cup of chai. In my day life, I'm a product manager. So I do a very San Francisco thing, and I work in tech. My parents are from Pakistan. I was born and raised in Canada, the good part of the West, the part that you all want to immigrate to, shade thrown everywhere.
Yikes,
But yeah.
yikes.
That's me, and I'm so
Wow.
excited to be on here. Thank you guys for having me.
We really are the four corners of the country here, aren't we?
Oh my God, we do.
Oh
We
my
have
God,
all four
are we?
corners.
Yeah, because Neve, you're New York, New Jersey, Juhi, Chicago, I'm Houston, and Tasha's California. So yeah.
And the middle of America doesn't count.
And of course not.
No, what else matters? What else matters? Nothing else matters.
Of course not. And obviously, guys know Juhi. Juhi has been on our show before. She has actually been on the show. Quite a few episodes. Not enough airtime, in our opinion. We think she should have run that show. But she will have juicy details for us. Juhi, welcome.
Hi guys.
What have you been up to since?
Back.
What have you been up to since the last time we talked to you?
Honestly, just busy working and dealing with all the chaos that is social media.
Nice.
Oh God.
That's gonna be fun.
How she just trailed off there, just social media, and it just smiles
I left it to your imagination.
Just smile. Listen, we got a lot to go over, but if you guys have seen last season's episode and this season's episodes, overall, what are your thoughts? Because I feel like it's juicy. I feel like it's pretty juicy. I think there's a lot of stuff happening. Is it as good as last season? Is it better? Is it about the same? What are your thoughts? I'm going to go with Natasha first.
Oh, man. I feel like the whole Shake and Dipti thing last season, it's hard to top that.
It's hard, right?
Hard to top that. That was a lot. That was like outside of like a predominantly South Asian matchmaking show. They were a couple that gained a lot of traction. They were South Asian. And there's just a lot happening. I think a lot of people resonated with Dipti. A lot of drama happened there. And I don't feel that kind of excitement in this season yet. I feel like all of the couples so far are fine-ish. There's some people where I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. There's some fake tears going on. There's a little bit of girl drama. Some, just, some. But other than that, it's not as spicy as last season, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like, did it get spicy until like the last few episodes, or did it get spicy early on last season?
It got spicy right around here.
Right around here, right? Is when it got spicy. Yeah, I don't know. Shake was a character.
I distinctly remember them meeting each other for the first time, and they hugged, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put my babies in you," or something.
Oh my God!
Like that. Remember that?
Yeah.
And everyone was just like, "Oh, every brown girl." I was watching it with so many of my friends, and we were all like, "That did not just happen."
Cringe.
And I think it just like was spicy after that.
Juhi, so you were there last season. Tell me, how did it feel to watch this season after actually being on the show last season?
Yeah, it's very different for me because I felt like last season was very boring and not spicy at all. That's because I know the actual spicy stuff, right? Like you guys don't get to see anything that makes it to what makes it to Netflix. You don't see like 90% of like the good stuff. So for me, this season's like super exciting. So I'm like, oh my God, so much unknown. I don't know the background of anyone's stories, and knowing how my season went, I know how much stuff gets produced. Stuff is, like twisted. Like, so I feel like this season is way more spicier, but that's probably because I already knew everything about last season. So like watching it wasn't surprising to me at all.
You're cursed with knowledge. Got it.
Cursed with knowledge.
Yeah.
So for me, like I kind of judge how well a season is doing based on my TikTok. So I obviously cover shows like Love Is Blind, The Bachelor, and then like also like Star Wars and all that stuff on my TikTok. So like I kind of judge how well a show is doing based on how like viral all my content is going. And so far, I gotta say, Shake did do a number last year for sure. But both Cole and Andrew are up there. They're putting in work. They are making their rounds on the viral internets with their dramas. So it's I think they're both good in very different ways. So we'll get into that. Jazz, what are your thoughts so far?
So it's interesting because I am expecting a lot more drama to come up in the next few episodes. I know episodes 5 through 7 dropped like last night or yesterday.
Yeah,
and then we still have like 4 more after this next week.
I think 3 more after that, and then 1 more. I think it's going to be the reunion.
Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, so I am expecting a lot more drama here on out. I have not seen episodes 5 through 7 yet. I've only done 1 through 4, so it's almost as if like, oh man, like, did you ever watch the show Next on MTV?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that, right? Where like the guys are like, wait, I can't wait to see what else is on the bus next, and then end up being disappointed, right? So I'm at that point where I'm like really hyped for what's about to come up next, and I don't know how it's gonna go. So we'll see.
So one of the things that I think is interesting is that I think there's more episodes than there were last season. Is that correct, Juhi, or no? Or the same amount of episodes?
There usually are 10 episodes. So far we've had 7. So there should be 3 more coming up. So 2 are going to be the wedding, and then 1 will probably be the reunion. So it's still going to be about the same.
I think it's the same amount of episodes, but I think they dropped more last season. I think they dropped the first 6 instead of doing 4 and 3.
No, they did the same. They did 4.
Oh, they did the same?
4 and then 2, which was like the finale last season 2. This season they're dropping. This season they're showing more stuff behind the scenes before before the engagements than they did last season. Like, I will say that.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
There's a lot more. Yeah.
All right, so let's start talking about the people, man, because this is we got a lot to cover. All right, so the first person that we get to that I want to talk about is our queen. We're gonna talk about Zainab because I am Team Zainab. I am so hardcore Team Zainab. I don't give a shit. I don't care if people call me favoritism or bias. I am Team Zainab all the way, and I think she's amazing, and I really, really enjoyed her so far.
You're not wrong, and quite frankly, she does much better than Cole.
She does way better than Cole, for sure, man, for sure. I think she was really cool to watch, but like her story. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I cried. Her story was so sad. And like I really, really think that like she is such a good person. But like obviously when you go through something like that, you obviously have, a few insecurities, or maybe I don't know, because she does seem a little unsure of herself a little bit in the pods. And I think that's why she puts up with Cole so much. So that's really, really interesting. But I really like her. What are your thoughts? Let's start with Natasha.
I mean, she's my homegirl. I don't know if she's Muslim. I don't know if they actually touch on that at all.
They don't, but she is Pakistani. She is.
She is Pakistani.
Yeah, so she is half Pakistani and half British. And then she moved to Texas, and I believe she was raised by her. Yeah, she was raised by her Christian stepmom.
Yes, her parents had passed away. No, but I think she's incredible. I think she's beautiful.
Yes.
And as it comes up, slowly, I think in later episodes, you see her insecurities coming up, and you're just like, girl, no, like there is no reason for you to be feeling this way at all.
Not for a mediocre white man.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like even like from the get-go, I was bothered by Cole. Like just the way that he presented himself, like an ego immediately. Like I think Andrew kind of had a subtle ego, right? Whereas Cole is like in your face, right? And I think she can do so much better. She's just so much better than that. It kind of reminds me of the matchup of, I forget their names, but in last season there was the guy with the crazy eyes.
Right? Juhi,
Shane, right? And the girl that he was with, right? Natalie, yes, Shane and Natalie. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? Right? Like, no, what are you doing? From like day one, you knew there was a mismatch. I think that's Zaynab and Cole.
I definitely agree there's a mismatch between Zaynab and Cole. That guy is a little bit all over the place. And he's like, when he starts talking about the Jonas Brothers and having these real conversations and talking about how banter is so important, I'm like, your banter is not that great, bro. Like, I don't think I can listen to you for like 15 minutes, let alone like banter with you seems exhausting. It was wild. And he's like, I'm a real estate mogul. I'm like, I mean, you don't really clean up after yourself. I'm just, like, I don't really know.
No.
Like, she had to like beg him to like, clean his towel and keep that off the floor. So and like, who goes around calling the Jonas Brother hunks? Like, it's weird. Juhi, what are your thoughts on Cole?
Cole, he reminds me a lot of Barnett, I think, from season 1. I think was that Barnett?
Yes.
Okay.
Barnett.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Barnett.
Isn't his last name Barnett? His last name is Cole Barnett.
Yeah, they were like, this isn't a coincidence. They were like, it was a coincidence, but they didn't realize how similar they were. I do think, well, I know that sometimes if they see like, oh, this might be the, Barnett of the season, then they'll cast people that they think are similar enough. I definitely agree. I don't think it's not that the girls like Zaynab deserves better. She does, but I feel like just overall quality of the women are always better. And that's my biased statement.
I mean, that's just life, right?
Facts.
That's just life.
Even in our season, they were like, we've casted quality men, and we also have
quality men.
We also have
if
that.
Shane is quality men, then I'm not Shane. Shake is quality men. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Both
so
are
like, I think women are just overall like you find more quality women than you do men, and that's what we're seeing this season too. I've spoken to a lot of the women of this season, and they're awesome. Like they're so like they're all girls. They're very supportive of each other, very supportive of even each other through all the things that we all have seen. Sometimes you think that might break up friendships, but they're still a very strong.
I noticed they added you before the show was announced, so I didn't know. Were you able to talk to them before? You didn't know.
Some of them, majority of the women I didn't know, but some of the men I talked to before, like right before the show was announced, they had just like responded to a DM or something, and I just thought it was like a random white man. I ignored it.
A white man.
I ignored it, and then the cast got dropped, and I'm like, oh, it's not a random white man. Let me see what's going on. And they're a very fun group. The Dallas group is, and I know that production told us when they were shooting, like, sorry, you guys have nothing on Dallas. Like Dallas is such a fun group, and
no way.
Wow.
They're more exciting than you guys. And I think Chicago, we were a lot more like conservative and trying to get all this like, professional image because we didn't know what would be shown. And Dallas doesn't give a fuck. They're just
so was this shot around? Was this shot around the same time, or was this shot like months later?
No, it was around the same time. We were filming our weddings when they were filming their pods.
Oh, wow!
So it was like back to back. Because our season was like delayed because of COVID, so they had already like figured out seasons, 3, 4, so on.
Wait, does that mean season 4 has already been recorded now?
Yeah, they've shot the next like 3, 4 seasons. And
yeah, but one of them. I think one of them's in New Orleans. There's a few of them.
Mm-hmm. And they're casting now for Tampa, DC, Detroit, North Carolina. So they're on a roll.
Interesting. It's one of their most popular shows, and it makes sense because Netflix is like, hey, here's a show where we don't have to pay anybody. It's amazing hits, and we can produce like 5 or 6 of them at a time. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it's a quick turnaround.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround. But the thing is, it's also dangerous because I do feel like they're going to fall into the trend of Discovery, where they start focusing on unscripted stuff. And some of the scripted stuff is going to lack. Like we might not have another Stranger Things. We might not have another like Cobra Kai because this is so profitable to them. And Netflix is really trying to find the money because their stocks weren't doing so hot. So I don't know. I think that's pretty interesting. What do you think, Jazz?
Stocks doing? I'm curious now. How is Netflix stock doing?
I mean, everything is down right now, but still.
I mean, yeah, but like, what else?
And didn't they start like an ad version of like their?
Yeah, so they're starting that soon. It hasn't started.
No, they've been up for the past 6 months.
That's because they announced that the password sharing and the ads are coming out.
Are we going to talk about Andrew because he's like?
Oh no! I'm going to look up stocks. Let's get back to the important things here.
No, I want to finish up Cole, and then we're gonna
yeah.
get into Andrew because trust me.
I think Cole, I think he has a good heart. I think in this process it's very confusing. You do connect with different people at a different level, and then seeing them in real life, it does confuse you a little bit. So I'm excited to see how he grows from this point forward.
I think Cole has an amazing talent. The talent to find the wrong words at the wrong time. Like, this is what he says. I wouldn't go for you, but you're someone I needed to go for. Like, what? Like, this is what he says right before he proposes to her. You're not someone I would go for, but you're someone I need to go for. Like, bro. Like, why?
I don't know why she said yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand with that starter why she was like, yeah, let's go for this.
I don't get the point when he told her, actually never mind, you'll see this later on, but he has said it in the past couple episodes where she's like not his type, or not what he goes for, and I'm like, she's hot. Like, how do you not go for that?
She is really, really hot, and like, she's just pretty, and she's just such a kind person, and I don't understand like what his issue is, because, and the thing is, like, when he first saw her, he was very happy. He was like, oh my god, she's amazing, put her in a magazine, and I was like, oh, they're very cute together. I was really feeling it. Like, and then like he started talking, and I'm just like, oh no, he's just saying the wrong things at the wrong time.
Is he also younger?
I don't think there's he's probably he's like 5 years younger. I don't think there's
that
ever a
explains a
right
lot.
time to say anything like that. Like, when is a right time to be like, I would actually never go for you, or you are not my type, like,
Yeah.
Right? It's not about being the right or wrong time. I think like some people, when they get comfortable in a relationship, they feel like it's okay to be completely unfiltered, and they don't really think about the other person.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think like
things you should never say.
it's just something, it's like this concept of like, I know growing up we were always told, and I'll say this in like Urdu, so I'll translate for those who can't understand, but logo ka dil rakhna chahiye, like you should always be there and just like be careful of somebody's heart, and I feel like once you are comfortable with someone, that carefulness goes away, and you feel like you don't need to be careful with that heart anymore, and so you're just going to say what you're thinking, right? And I don't think that's okay.
I agree. That's a great comment. I really like that line. I do think that there is something to be said about Zainab's comments, because they like he did say that some of her comments come off passive aggressive, and for some people, like, they just don't resonate with the passive aggressive. Like, I feel like I've been told that I'm passive aggressive because like I don't like conflict and I don't like being blunt, so sometimes I'll say something and try to pass it off as like I don't really care about it, or maybe say it as a joke. And I had to work on that, because like I never realized that for some people that's a big irk. It irks them. So like I do feel for Cole in that sense, because like I've been on that sense, but I think his reaction to it is really, really weird, because when he was talking to Bartiz, he was saying stuff like, oh yeah, I don't know, and then he's like, look at her, man, that's your girl shaking her ass right there, how could you say no to that? And he's like, then he saw his like friends hyping her up, and he's like, oh yeah, man, totally. Like, I was like, oh, okay. I don't know. What are your thoughts about that, Julie?
I'm like lost up for words, because again, she's gorgeous, she has a great personality. Being on the other side of things, I'm like, what are we not seeing? Because that next morning it was just a lot of awkwardness between the two of them, and I'm like, there's obviously a lot filmed that we don't get to see, so I'm like, there's more to this situation than what we're seeing. But at the same time, also, like, these are two complete strangers having to live together for the first time, so there will be awkwardness, and it will take time for them to become comfortable with each other.
Yeah, like one of the
I feel like he must. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think he must have done or said something that we couldn't see. Like, even at the beginning, you noticed he was like, "Oh, you took your makeup off."
Yeah,
like,
you look like a different person.
Right, you look like a different person, and she kept saying like, I'm still pretty, right? Like, I'm still pretty. I'm not that bad. And he's like, no, but you took your makeup off. Like, you have all these things on your face, and it's like.
Tell me you've never been with a woman without telling me you've never been with a woman. Like,
there's definitely more that was like said, more that happened, and all we see is like her just reacting.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, it's not like Cole was sitting there silently and she was upset.
No.
Yeah,
But I do think that like she takes these things, you know, and when people say this stuff to her, but like he also doesn't give her any reassurance after he says it, right? Like you say that comment and sometimes you're like, oh, you look like a completely different person. And then you would, you know, let her know that you don't mean it in a bad way, or say like, oh, now I have 2 beautiful women instead of 1, or say something nice to back
But
it
I
up,
also
right?
think this is like, I think this is something that you learn when you are in a relationship with someone. Like, what type of communication or affirmations do they need? And how do they reciprocate that? And so I think that's just like a learning curve for them to both get through together.
This is true. They've only known each other for what, a few days at
Yeah.
this point?
She probably was. She probably was like, I don't want to seem like I'm negative or nagging, so let me just find a different way of saying it, which will come off as passive aggressive.
Absolutely. Also, I want to give a shout out to people in the comments. Shout out to Marley Loves Films. Shout out to April. Thanks for joining us in the comments. Marley says Cole is a man child, which I do feel like that is true. And he feels like someone who's like a freshman in college or in a frat. And he's like, bro, you're trying to get married. Maybe grow up a little bit, man. Maybe grow up a little bit. All right. So I'm good with Zenab and Cole for now. Now let's talk about Andrew. Let's talk about Andrew, because I love me some Andrew, because homie got me 2.5 million views on TikTok.
What?
Yes. So
wow.
So the video of him talking
with the fake tears
about with the fake tears, bro, that video blew up like 2.5 million views. I was like, yes. I was so excited when that happened, because it was just
you
so
become one of those.
No, because like he needs to be exposed, because the way he got set up was wild. It was wild, because like right before the producers, man, shout out to the producers, the way they edit it. She is saying like, oh, men just want to self-serve and try to portray this image. And then right afterwards, we see him do an ITM, like in the moment interview. And he talks about how he's sad. Man cannot fester any tears. So he takes the eye drops. And I'm just like, oh, okay, fine. It's contacts. Man puts more, it was an ungodly amount of eye drops. Like, I was like,
you could see the drops like streaming down.
It was like a fountain of like eye drops. Like, Visine, find this man, give him a sponsorship, man. Like, Clear Eyes.
That'd be a really cool way for him to make this into something. If he got sponsored by Visine, that would be amazing.
Get sponsored by Visine or Clear Eyes, because that was amazing. But it was like a sociopath like amount of like eye drops. But you see it like get on his cheeks. He doesn't wipe it. He turns to camera number 3 to make sure he gets the good angle, and then he just keeps like pretending to cry. He also does this thing where he goes like flinches his eyes to make it cry. Nothing was coming out. It was wild. It was unhinged. Juhi, what are your thoughts?
Okay, I was shocked seeing that, because so like you go into this room, right, and you can't really see anybody in the back, so you can't really see your producer, but you just have all these cameras in your face. And they're asking you questions, you're answering, but there's a certain level of like, you understand certain things might be taken out of context, but you also have some trust with your producer. Like if they're asking you a question, you trust that there are certain things that you may not make it to camera, and you can always like pause and say, hey, like I need a break, I need to grab water or something, right? I didn't expect that. I think that moment he genuinely thought he was safe talking to his producer, and the fact that they showed that was wild to me. I was like, 100% thought he was saying it in a private, like trustworthy, confidential space, and it was just exposed. And the producers are really smart, because if you hear them in the background, they never say it's okay for him to do that.
Yeah.
They say, because he asks, and they say, well, if your eyes are hurting or bothering you, then sure. So they are not taking like you can't even blame them saying, oh, production made me do this.
Yeah.
But he's doing it because of tears.
But do you think that production didn't like him and they put that in for there, or were they just trying to manipulate? Okay, like sometimes I feel like production, your producers, you build a relationship with them, and if they really like you, they'll take care of you. They'll make sure you'll be okay. But to hang him out to dry like that, he must not be a great person. He must be annoying.
he 100% must have made enough comments to where they were like, we need to expose him, and this is the perfect way to do it without exposing a lot of the bad comments he may have made.
Right.
And also it was gold. Like, how are you not going to show that? Like, that was probably the best scene I've seen in a reality TV show in a long time.
That was wild.
Did he get a good edit then? Like,
we don't know, but he does come back in another episode. We see it in the preview, so he does come back.
I don't think anyone's ever done that, right? Like, no one's ever put in that ungodly amount of eye drops into their eyes for it to stream down his face.
That was unhinged. That was like, even if they didn't like it wasn't for crying, just that amount of eye drops alone was enough for me to go, this
like,
guy's unhinged.
I thought a produced version of that scene would have been just him. You could just see the tears and he's talking about how he's hurt.
Yeah.
But the fact they showed the behind the scenes of what led to that was
because last year you told us that Shake actually got a good edit. So like he said a lot of worse things. So if they're not just that vindictive and just like not that bad, they actually do care a little bit. That means this was all him.
Yeah, and each season will have a different set of production.
Oh, that's true, because they were filming at the same time. So it's a different production.
Yeah, so it could have been, different people. And also, like, Netflix when they edit, they may decide to keep things, take things out. So you never know.
Natasha, what about you? What are your thoughts about iDropGate?
I mean, iDropGate, I mean, Nancy called it a mile away, right?
Yeah.
No,
her intuition.
She's like, nope. He is way too calm and collected. He is something is off. Something is so off about him. The way he's talking about himself, the way he's acting, it's just, all of it is wrong. Yes. Right. And, and then you see this scene and you're like, yes, no one can be so pitch perfect, buttoned up. Oh, I think he was like iBanking or something, or, he was a consultant and then became a photographer. Even as like, oh, I've been face to face with the lion. Really?
Yo, first of all, he said he was in South Africa with Maasai blankets. Maasai blankets are from Kenya. They're not even from South Africa, bro. Like, bro, you read that on a Reddit forum. Like, it was wild. And he also seems very rehearsed. Like, this motherfucker probably stood in front of his mirror, repeating his Hinge profile. And that's what that was.
Yes. Man. And I think it came out, the disingenuity, whatever that word is, it came out. Right. And I think people picked up on it and he didn't get matched.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
He was like, I stood on 70-story towers on cranes. And like, I've done that. It's not a big deal. Like when a building's being constructed, everybody does that. The electrician, everyone does that. It's not a big deal, bro.
Yeah. I think he should try out for a Yash Raj film. I think Karan Johar, if Karan Johar is looking for a new actor, I think this is the next up and coming. The tears.
All right. I'm gonna ask you guys about this. Maybe not Jazz. How do you feel?
I mean, ask me too. Like,
all right, fine. You know what? Let's put Jazz in the hot seat. Let's do it. Jazz, how do you feel about sexual kung fu? Jazz had left the chat. Oh man. Okay, Jazz, come back, please. Like, when he was talking about that, I got the biggest cringe. I got the biggest ick. That was gross. And I'm like a dude. I don't even care. But like, what do you guys think? Juhi.
Yeah, I fast forwarded. I was forewarned, and when the conversation, I was like, I don't even want to know. I'm just gonna fast forward through. Honestly, most of the scenes I fast forwarded through them. I didn't even want to hear him talk.
That was not a halal conversation.
That's exactly why I left.
Natasha, what about you?
Juhi and I are on the same boat there. I heard the word. I'm like, I don't know what it is. I don't even care to know what it is. Let's move past this.
That was so cringe. That was so bad. And him talking about like the 41-year-old that taught him everything. Yeah. And it was just so gross, man. It was really, really weird.
Yeah. And now with all of the fakeness,
like, where did you read that one from?
You're just like, did that actually happen? Or exactly? Yeah.
Yeah. It was very, very weird. And like, and the funniest thing is that Shake actually commented on one of the videos, and he goes, what did I do that was so bad? Look at this guy. Oh man.
I mean, yeah, I guess relative, but my
I know Shake was watching this and going, yes, somebody else,
Vindicated.
somebody else take the heat. I'm not public enemy number 1.
You're public enemy number 2, jackass. Congrats.
Oh man. Oh, that was wild. Also, even though he was using eye drops, man could have used some chapstick because his lips were so chapped. It looked like a butthole. Like I was like, come on, bro.
Oh, shit, man. Are we allowed to say that on
Damn, I
air?
can't unsee
I
it.
don't know. What else? So that's about Andrew. Anything else we have left about Andrew?
No, he doesn't need
No.
to be talked about even more.
Yeah,
No.
right. We've given him too much time. Let's move
All
on.
right. The next couple that I want to talk about is Bartice and Nancy.
Big
What are your
council.
thoughts? What are your thoughts about them, Jui?
This is what I believe Natasha was referring to when there's certain things you just shouldn't say.
Mm-hmm.
And he was way more honest than he needed to be. Like, I
Mhm.
understand, again, you're making connections with different people in the pods. You see them and you're going to have feelings because you built that in the pods. And if you find them attractive, that'll happen. And in my season, it happened a lot. And, but you don't tell, like, you don't go and tell your fiance. Like, you just keep it to yourself and you keep it moving. You don't go tell her. And he was like, he kept talking about how gorgeous, how hot she was, smoke show. And then he told Nancy, and I felt really bad because anytime he tells Nancy his thoughts about Raven,
Yeah.
he describes the physical looks. It's like, oh, her body's in shape, her body's fit. And then I'm like, you're not saying anything about Nancy, who's also just hot in every single way. So it's like, you're making her feel like shit. You could definitely say what you need to say without making her feel worse.
Yeah.
Other than that, I really like him.
Natasha, what about you?
I +1, everything Julie just said. I think there is absolutely no reason for you to talk about another woman when you are with another woman. You know, it leads to nothing.
They're engaged.
They're engaged. They're engaged. You know, it leads to nothing. And I just I don't understand why it goes back to the whole thing of like, you know, you don't need to be so unfiltered. That's not the mark of closeness in a relationship. Sometimes it's just stupidity.
Yeah.
Right. Like you don't need, just don't say it.
Yeah.
I do think that she's too mature for him.
Yes.
She's older, right?
Oh, she's older.
She's older. And I don't mean that by age. I think
He's 27?
that, you know,
25.
Oh God.
Yeah, he's 25. He's pretty young.
Oh,
and I think that some guys do mature early and that's fine. And I think some girls like will be older and they'll be immature, whatever. But I think she's just in a different like mental state than he is in. And so I think that's a pretty rocky, like I don't know if it'll pan out.
I know. I kept like thinking of like Cardi B's like, what was the reason? Like the entire time, but just don't say anything.
I totally get what you guys are saying. For me,
I also really like him though. Like, I think we needed him. Like he has main character energy.
He's an accountant. I mean, I kind of like him.
He's cute.
He gives me like a nicer Andrew Tate. That's what he feels like to me because he's got that energy where he's kind of just like, yo, man, look, listen. Like that's what he sounds like to me, and it's off-putting for me. And here's the thing about him saying all those things, right? Like he's done some things on the show that are deceptive, him and Cole. But when they come to a situation where they can spare somebody's feeling, that's when they want to be honest. That's when they got to be honest. Like, I got to be honest with you. I got to be honest with you. But you're also like talking to people behind their back. You're saying these things. You're like, you know, not being completely honest in some areas. But then when it comes to like things that could actually hurt someone's feelings, that's when you got to be honest. And I think that's weird. Like you pick and choose when you want to be honest. And I feel like that's disingenuous.
That's what bullies do.
Yeah, but I also know that like just again speaking with some of the castmates and hearing their kind of backgrounds with each other, it's like it seems like they're very supportive of one another, even like the couples. Obviously, we don't know what will happen, but they are, and it sounds like, you know, I guess in my season when comments were made, there wasn't like a understanding of why that was a bad thing to say, but it seems like the men of this season are acknowledging why their comments are hurtful and what work they're willing to do to change.
Oh, good.
Forward.
Oh, okay.
Good. They're learning.
That's nice.
That's nice to hear. That is nice to hear.
Yeah.
Why do you think Barteeth chose Nancy over Raven. Natasha?
He says that there was no emotional connection between him and Raven. So that's what he claims.
Mhm.
What I think is interesting, and Raven actually points this out in the girl pod, or where she's like, "Hey, like every guy is gonna go for Nancy because she seems so agreeable." Right? She's just like, "Oh, hi, bubbly, this and that, and agreeableness and whatever," right? And so in my mind, and like I've caught up to the latest episodes and stuff, so Bartice's like character plays out a little bit more. I
Mhm.
think type of person that needs someone that is a bit more agreeable.
I feel like that. I feel like if Raven was with him, she would call him out on his bullshit, and she
Oh, yeah.
would not pull up with as much stuff as somebody else would. So I could see him going for her. I think they even say that in the pod. He was like, you would call me out on stuff, or he said something like that in the pod. And I feel like he went with the girl that he thought maybe he can control a little more, or just agreed with him a little bit more. I don't know. What about you,
never
Judy?
understand that. Ugh.
Why?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, simply because, like, don't you want your partner to tell you when you're being stupid or that this is bullshit? Like, don't you want like
No.
someone to be the voice of reason for you?
Not if you're a narcissist. I'm not saying he is, but I'm just saying.
I think theoretically everybody wants that. I think in practice, it's hard, right? And I think for men sometimes, and I don't want to like discriminate against a gender, everyone is different. But it's really hard. Like think about just getting feedback at work, right? People just can't process it. Men and women can't process it, right? Now imagine that coming from your partner and how deep that hurts, right? And especially if they can't communicate, or they say dumb stuff, like that's not going to land well. And so while I think in theory everybody wants a partner that's like that, not everyone can live with a partner like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I get that.
I think he so again, we don't see hours and hours of conversation. Like by the end of those 10 days, you are speaking with your like top 2 people for at least 8 hours a day. Right?
Oh, wow.
Of those 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours, you're seeing like a 30-second clip of their conversation. So there's so much that's missing. And what I see is him and Nancy have very similar like energy in terms of like their excitement for life. She's very bubbly. She meets him where he feels like the excitement comes from in a relationship, where it sounded like Raven was a lot more calm and like even keeled, and maybe invested a little bit more in obviously SK. So their pod dates may have just been more engaging for her with the other guy than with Bartiz. I think we saw that episode where she's doing jumping jacks at some point.
Yeah, she was doing jumping jacks while he's talking, right?
Yeah. So I think Nancy just gives off that like fun, younger energy vibe that maybe he found it really attractive. I don't know if I necessarily think that he went for someone he could control.
Okay, fair. So speaking of Raven, what about her and SK? What are your thoughts about them? Do you think they're going to make it? Do you think there's nothing there? Bartiz did a whole thing about how like they were so far away from each other. He's like, this is weird, bro. This is weird. I don't know why he's telling Nancy that, but he was really obsessed with that.
Yeah. I'm like, is it weird or is that normal? Right? Like you're engaged to someone you never know and you've talked to them behind a wall for 10 days. So I think being awkward with somebody and not being all over them and slowly building, that level of comfort and trust is a normal thing. And I think that's what
yeah. Sorry, I meant the fact that Bartiz kept bringing it up was weird, not the fact that happened. But yeah, I agree.
I think, I'm like, you're a little bit, again, I feel like what we see is him having second thoughts, or maybe him being like, subconsciously or on purpose just being like, yeah, maybe I made the wrong decision. But I've also watched the next couple episodes, so you'll see that play out.
Just spoil it.
No spoilers.
You have to watch it yourself.
Oh, fine.
Natasha, what about you? What are your thoughts about Raven and SK?
I think they're both very reserved. I think Juhi's right. Like, like this is the natural course of things, right? Like if you've just met someone or, you know, you've seen them once and you're engaged, it's going to take some time to build. People that like go like this are usually going to crash and burn just as quickly, right? A lot of the times it's just the infatuation, right? And it's not really the love, right? Love takes a lot of time to build, right? And so I think they're taking the right steps, but because they're both very reserved, I don't think the short time frame is going to be enough for them to open up in the way they need to and really make the decision of like yes or no, right? That's not to say they won't eventually be together, right? But I think it's just too short of a time frame for them to do that.
I couldn't agree more.
Also, what we're seeing is the first time, like this is the first time after that initial like reveal that these two people are seeing each other. So like the reveal is done, but it doesn't mean you're like with them right away. Like you're separated again. And then you meet again when you both land at like the vacation spot. So what we're seeing is like them seeing each other again for the first time after. So
it's a first date.
You know, so it's kind of like, yeah, like the first real day together is what we're seeing.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm rooting for them. I like them together, but I agree. I think the time is not in their favor, especially based on their personalities and who they are. I think that's a little bit against them, but who knows? Another couple who I think is doing really well is Alexa and Brennan. What are your thoughts on them? Natasha, you want to go?
Top couple.
Yeah?
Top couple in terms of like, I think like they're going to make it and like even past the show, I think it's going to work. I think it was great that like, you know, there was none of this, oh, I had like 2 people that I was in love with. Oh, I had like 4 other people I was in love with. And that person's kind of hot and you're kind of hot, but that other person is really hot too, right? It's like clean. You know, it's straightforward. They connected immediately. And, you know, to Jui's point, maybe there was a bunch of content we didn't see, but from what was edited, it seemed like it was pretty straightforward. You know, a lot of their, you know, core values seem aligned. And I think when it's like simple at the beginning, then it's very easy that it's, you know, it's very likely that it's going to work out.
Juhi, what are your thoughts about them?
My thoughts about them is when you see something like that, you're like, okay, this is why this experiment kind of works. Because I don't know if these 2 people would have ever approached each other in real life, ever thought to give one another a chance. And they're so different, but they work so well together. And that's like a really cool thing to see. It seems like he's a very supportive person and willing to compromise where he needs to. And she has like that strong personality that he probably needs in his life. So I like what I see so far.
Nice. I agree with you guys. They are also my top couple, and I really could see them going all the way. And I think Brendan is just like super sweet. He's super nice. He says like all the right things at the right time. He's the opposite of what you call Cole. Like it's really, really nice, and he's always reassuring her how he feels about her. Like he kind of anticipates if she ever feels self-conscious about anything, and he keeps telling her like. Good stuff, man. I really, really like them. And their date was really cute where they were on the tree with the fairy lights and stuff. I like that they got like a really cute date. So yeah, I'm definitely rooting for them. I like them a lot.
I also think he's mature. He's probably like been in a serious relationship before. Like a lot of these things are probably learned, and that really comes out when he's like interacting with her, right?
Every guy needs a few good heartbreaks to become a better man.
Fair enough. And you know what? I just want to call out her badassery of like being like, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to stay and be, and I'm going to be confident in it, and that's it. And take it or leave it, right? And when I heard that, I absolutely fell in love with her. I'm like, this person is incredible.
Nice.
I got something spoiled for me on TikTok. I was a doom scrolling earlier today, and apparently Brennan is down for a prenup. Like, that's a big thing for guys. Like, if he's that mature, oh shit, this girl found the right guy. And so
no spoilers. No more spoilers. That's the only one. We want to keep.
My bad.
We got to keep some juicy stuff for Sunday.
Okay, it's a prenup. It's not that juicy. Like,
Holla, we want prenup. No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about Colleen. Who's the guy with Colleen? I forgot his name. He's Matt. Seems very unrememberable.
Everyone forgets about it.
Generic Matt.
Colleen and generic white man.
oh my
God. What are our thoughts with our ballet dancer, Colleen? Natasha, you want to go?
I think it was just very odd. Her intros were very odd. Like it was like, hey, I do ballet. I'm very flexible. I can put my leg behind my head. Like it was just, there was no real substance, I think, to who she was as a person. I think over time, perhaps that substance will develop. But on the forefront, the way they edited her character was very much like, hey, I'm just like this dancer girl and I'm like flexible in all these ways. And so go for it. Right. I also think that like she has very little emotional control. Her highs and lows are very extreme, right? Like, oh, gets rejected, bawling her eyes out. And then like in love with a new person the next day, gets rejected, bawling her eyes out again. Then all of a sudden in love with this third person, right? And so I think that is, she just needs a little bit more emotional maturity to like go into something like a marriage. And so I don't know if her and Matt will work out, but I think it's a recipe for a lot of fights and insecurity. Only because he's had a bad experience as well.
Juhi,
right?
what about
and
you?
She's so
Oh, sorry, you're still going?
No. Yeah, no, I'm done.
Juhi, how about you?
Yes, Colleen comes across to me as someone who wasn't really comfortable in front of a camera right away, so she probably was a little like rigid or stiff, but I feel like she becomes more comfortable as time goes on. She's one of like the most fun girls of the castmates, and all the girls like really get along with her, have a good time with her, so that is different than what we're currently seeing. I feel like Matt is an interesting, everyone gets casted for a unique story. I don't know about Matt. Like his story is very unique. His story is very unique. I just don't know if he is ready to be married.
I'm sorry, I don't remember his story at all. What was his unique story?
So he was married. He was married and he was in a relationship for about 10 years, from 18 to 24.
Wow.
24 he got divorced.
Oh,
because the girl cheated on him.
And
I don't know.
With him.
Yeah, I'm not sure how old he is currently, but I don't know if a reality TV show is a place to find your next marriage.
No.
Yeah.
He's traumatized. This isn't going to go well.
It sounded like he had some healing to do when I was listening to his pod dates.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Colleen, there's something that like I kind of noticed when they were at the party where they finally get to meet each other, was that Cole seemed pretty interested in Colleen a little bit, and I feel like I'm really worried about my girl Zena, man. I'm really worried. I don't know. He made a comment about her, and it's making me feel a certain type of way. Jazz, what do you think?
I mean, he's like when he made that comment, right? And I'm trying my best not to spoil this because I don't see how a relationship can recover from that, especially if from the girl being South Asian. I know plenty of girls who've had that trauma and who still go through it. It takes a bigger toll than it would on other races, maybe. So, or actually any person of color.
No, I'm talking about what he said to the other guys. I don't think he said anything to her yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you might.
You're skipping ahead. You're skipping ahead. Yeah. You're skipping ahead.
He said a comment about Colleen to another guy, I believe, and he seemed interested in her. So I don't know. I haven't seen anything. What happens first? But I guess that something is gonna happen. So I guess my worrisome is right.
Yeah, you're gonna be mad for your girl Zena more.
Oh no.
Yeah, you are.
Oh guys.
Yeah, and that's tough. Yeah.
Oh man. So I don't know, but like I feel like Cole is someone who was kind of a little bit like looking at Colleen, and I feel like Bartise was also someone who was like looking at Raven. I feel like everyone else for the most part was kind of just happy with who they had, even though their relationship might not be great, they might not be perfect, they're still pretty happy with who they have, except for these two people. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, I do. I think that's accurate. I think they're both younger, so that definitely plays a role. I think they were both like, I think the only ones that had like multiple really strong connections, and so I think that's also hard, and neither of them have a filter. So I think what they're going to do is self-sabotage. They're going to keep saying dumb things. Their partners are going to continue to get more insecure. They're going to feed off of that and get pissed off, right? And then be like, oh, this wasn't for me because of X, Y, and Z. So I think both of them, it's just going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I just realized something. Wow. Is this another pyramid?
No, Jeff, no pyramids. We're not doing pyramids today. That was a Bachelor reference. So we're not
In the last episode, I drew a pyramid showing all the relationships.
Jeff drew a pyramid saying like who likes who and why they like them, and like relationships are a pyramid. It's what we figured out. All relationships are a pyramid scheme. Julie, how about you? What are your thoughts about
sign that prenup?
Raven being someone that Ortiz is looking at, and Colleen being someone that Cole is looking at?
I mean, I think it's pretty normal because a lot of people have a type. And we saw this in last season, right? Like Shake was struggling to have feelings for someone who wasn't his normal type. And I think these two are doing the same thing. Like in their head, they have this mental image of what they've normally been attracted to and what's been their type thus far. And it's hard for them to break that mold and put like the person that they have in in the same like category as like, okay, I can actually be emotionally invested in this person and find them just as attractive just because they haven't dated that type before. That's just, again, them needing to do some learning and having different experiences. And yeah, it's like Natasha's point where obviously they don't seem very mature, but it seems like hopefully that they're going to try, but I do agree with her that they're going to probably self-sabotage.
Do you think?
I also think. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
also think like guys will now like try really hard not to be the next Shake.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think all of this like political correctness around like, oh, like I'm emotionally connected to this person and like that's what I'm going to focus on, blah, blah, blah. I think if there wasn't a Shake, then this would have imploded a lot sooner and it would be a lot worse.
I thought about that too, but I was like, oh, did they? Obviously, it was filmed around the same time, so they couldn't have seen.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. So it was interesting to me too. I was like, wait, are they changing the way they're saying things because of what they saw last season? But I know that they didn't.
Okay.
So I was like, maybe they're just better at what they're saying, but you still see them say some messed up stuff. It's just
they do. They do.
It's just
there's also
flavor.
There's also this thing I've heard where like guys need to feel like they're the hero in a relationship. You know, they're there. And then when young guys are dating older, accomplished women, like that hero-ness is not there for them, right? Like, what do I need you for beyond you just like, elevating my life? But my life is already so elevated that like, you need to match me. And so it could just be a little bit of insecurity.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think
also that plays into it.
Also, what just Jazz was saying, like what the comments that they're making are going to be hurting the women, but it just sucks if you are a South Asian woman and now you're being compared to not being as attractive as like the white woman.
That's a thing.
So,
That's definitely a thing.
It is a real thing. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out too.
All right. Well, we'll find out in the next 4 episodes and figure out if love really is blind. But I want to thank you guys for really joining us. And Natasha, please, one more time, let people know where they can find you and where they can find your amazing show.
Yeah, for sure. You guys can follow me on Instagram. My handle is right there. Sham Ki Chai is on YouTube. I interview Pakistanis doing really cool things over a cup of chai. And so I've interviewed like founders and artists and graphic designers, and it's super cool. So head over to YouTube, watch Sham Ki Chai, and it was great being on the show. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And
have you met Neebs?
What was that?
Have you met Neebs?
Neebs needs to be on the show. Don't worry. I have a plan for Neebs. I have a plan for Neebs.
Juhi, what about you? Where can people find you?
You can just find me living it up on my Instagram. It's Juhi_F. And yeah, you'll just see all the crazy things I do throughout the week and all the random things I'm involved in. And you can always hit me up.
I will say she has a very colorful Instagram. So
that was my Love is Blind, an article that was written about me. Like, she's colorful. And I was like, oh, that's a nice way of describing it.
Oh, no way. They wrote an article about you?
Awesome.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We were at 55 minutes, and this was a packed episode. We talked about everything and everything.
I feel like we didn't talk about enough, though. I feel like we can go another hour if we really wanted to.
Yeah, we probably could.
Probably could. There's a lot of like layers to this stuff, but we got to save some stuff for the next episode. But listen, guys, thank you for joining us, and everybody listening on the podcast, everybody who came to the YouTube channel, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, guys, Salaam, nerds.
Peace.
Bye.